911 emergency.
When you're reporting southbound number 3 lane. 911, what's your emergency? How can I help you?
Welcome, everybody, back to another fantastic episode of We Speak Dispatch, because if we're talking dispatch, y'all should be talking dispatch as well. We have got the usual cast of characters on today's podcast, and we have a special guest, but let's introduce and check in with Doug and John. Doug, how's it going where you are?
Middle Tennessee is always awesome. So, and
Awesome.
I appreciate the fact you said y'all a second ago. So that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to, and I'll talk slower for you so it helps too. Anyway, John, how are you doing?
Mid-Atlantic's great.
Excellent. Excellent. And then our very special guest today is Heath. And so Heath, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you are and what's going on with you.
So I'm Heath Brandt. I'm currently the 911 director in Johnson County, Indiana. So we are just south of Indianapolis. Give you an idea where we're located.
Awesome. And how many dispatchers do y'all have?
We have a total of 34 full-time dispatchers.
And are you fully staffed? Because that seems to be the burning question most often.
No,
What?
most of the
My
year.
shocked face.
Yeah, right.
What
Yeah, most of the year we've been 10 positions down. So
Oh
we're
my God.
starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Just had a lot happen at once. Had a couple leave for become police officers, and then people leaving for jobs where they can work from home.
Right.
So,
Wow.
yeah, I'm seeing
That's
that
the big one. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the big one.
I don't know if you
There's-
saw one of our episodes we had where the guy from, I forget where he's from. Someplace.
Alexandria, Virginia.
Yeah, they do all their dispatching from somebody's house. It's like they bring all the
Remote.
equipment to your house, remote dispatching. I'm like, I can't even imagine how that sounds complicated. So
it
no.
does.
But
Yes.
it certainly is. And when he said this, I'm like, oh, wow, that is very innovative, because they had a dispatcher who had been with their agency for several years. She was married to somebody in the military who had gotten deployed across the country. And she was still able to maintain her employment with the agency because she's now just logging in from home. And because of the time change, she was actually able to work like a night shift. And it wasn't really graveyard for her, but it was graveyard for the agency. And it was just this whole thing. But yeah,
Wow.
It sounds very,
A lot of-
very fraught with
Yeah.
problems. So
yeah, a lot of stuff is happening with dispatching and making sure that people get the training and the staffing and all of that stuff that they need. So pretty crazy. So we kind of have you here because you had a fairly significant incident happen in your area, and if you'd like to share some of that insight with us and the people who are listening, I'm sure we can take some lessons learned from what you experienced at your agency during an active shooter.
Yeah, so on July 17th at about 5:57 in the evening, we had just done a shift change about 20 minutes prior to that. And first call comes in, our 911 lines kind of just take off. I think we've all probably seen something like that. You see a serious accident or something like that, your lines light up. And this one was a little bit different. There was a report of an active shooter in the Greenwood Park Mall food court. And if you've heard the audio, you know that a significant number of calls rolled over to a neighboring agency, which is by design. Our system is set up to do exactly what it did. So there's still lessons to be learned there, and we've had some meetings since then about that, and which I'll kind of go into here a little bit. But yeah, we took the week prior to on July the 10th, we took 3 911 calls in a 30-minute time frame. But not the whole day. No.
yeah, I'm like,
I was going to say the whole week you took 3 911 calls.
No.
well, the system
We
was
took-
down
we
for
took-
weeks. I just didn't tell you.
No, we took 3 calls between the 5:45 and 6:15 hour on a Sunday evening, and on the 17th we took 98.
Wow.
Wow.
98.
38 minutes,
Yeah.
30
Do
minutes.
you accept texting?
We do, and we did not get any.
Really?
We did
Wow.
not get any, which I am shocked with the number of people that we had hiding throughout the mall.
Seriously.
So that's where I think one thing that we are going to do, you know, as things kind of clear from this, is kind of really push a campaign is for texting to make sure that everybody knows. I mean, the state's done a really good job. A lot of people know that Indiana was the first state to be fully implemented with text to 911 with every PSAP. So we all have it. It's available, and you know, we want to make sure that that word gets out there. So that's something that we're going to be looking to do, and is kind of doing a media
You said
campaign
those
for
calls got rolled over to another agency. Did they just ship them right back to you?
So that's where we talk about, yeah, the system did exactly what it was supposed to do, but we can still learn from it. And that is, you know, it's really exactly to that. So, because, yeah, the first 3, 4, 5 calls, they were just trying to transfer them right back to us.
Boy.
So when they say, hey, there's an active shooter at the Greenwood Mall, okay, you're in Johnson County, and let me transfer you to Johnson County, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is exactly what any dispatcher would do, right?
Sure.
So we are, I've had a meeting with the director of Bartholomew County, Todd, and Jeff Shimmer, who's a state 911 board director here in Indiana. And to talk about how the state can really help us and get AT&T involved and then digital to help with identifying those calls so that when they ring into another PSAP, that we know that they are rollover calls, so that we don't have that period of a couple of minutes where we're trying to transfer calls. So when it rings in, we know, don't try to transfer this back because we got it for a reason.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's something that the state's really pushing for us at the moment with AT&T.
Yeah. And I've heard that happen. I think the Virginia Tech shooting was another one where that sort of thing happened. And just, I would imagine 98 calls in 30 minutes, that it was just chaotic, and nobody has time to even get on the radio and maybe do a region-wide broadcast that says, hey, we're having this event, just to put people on notice. Because you're right. I think if somebody knows the area and hears, oh, you're at that mall, let me transfer you back. And so some great training, I bet, will
How
stem
many
from
dispatchers were working that particular day?
7. We had 7 working.
98 calls for 7 dispatchers.
Yeah. So we answered 65 of those. And if you think about it, it was more like a 20-minute time frame than 30, because the first call came in at 5:57. So yeah, we had 7 plus a trainee. So we had a total of 8. But
Trainee sitting there going, yikes.
Yeah,
You're cut loose.
That's right.
And that's kind of what it was. I talked to him the next day, and I said, you know, you kind of got that. We're gonna have to throw you off the end of the dock and hope you swim, because you know we got to focus on something else at the moment. So
Yeah. Wow.
Did the trainee really just jump in and start just answering calls?
yeah, so he didn't answer any calls. He was training on one of our law talk groups that night, so he kind of managed what little traffic there was. Luckily,
Okay.
when something like that happens, I think the rest of the agencies that are being dispatched by the PSAP understand it's time to shut up. It's time to not do anything.
Right.
If we're not going to that scene, we're going to go somewhere and not stir anything up for us.
Right.
So, and I know that your incident had the citizen who ended up killing that guy. Did you get calls of a second shooter? Like, oh my God, who's this guy now? He's got a gun. So
Yeah.
it's got to be confusing.
Yeah, so we did. But the first phone call that we got, the shooter was already down.
Oh.
Wow.
So yeah, from the time that the incident started to the time that the shooter was down was 15 seconds.
Oh my
Wow, I
God.
didn't realize it was
Yeah.
that quick. Wow.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you look at how much, damage he did in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Had that young man not been there, I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how bad it would have been.
Yeah.
It was armed heavily, and but yeah, we did get a report of a second shooter, but it turned out to be.
I've always thought that when we do training classes and you work in a state that has like constitutional carry, so people can carry guns, and if you get an active shooter and somebody calls and says, I've got a gun, do you want me to do it when we shoot them? I mean, what do you tell this person? I don't know their abilities. It's like, I don't know, but it's like if somebody comes in that building and they see you with a gun, they're going to think you're the bad guy. So it's like,
Right.
I've always tried to tell people, like, be careful if you're in these kind of states that have that thing, because you're going to be, I don't even know what to tell somebody. I have no idea.
Or if not, maybe
Yeah.
they don't. And I don't know, the first thing that comes to my mind, and thank God I'm not under the console right now, would be do what you need to do to feel safe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's the thing.
Yeah, or, you know, if you think it's safe to do so, well, yeah, I'm a gun carrying member. I'm going to shoot. Okay. Do what
Yeah.
you need to do to remain safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then it goes back to, you know, as dispatchers are trained from the beginning, you've got to get a really good suspect or now civilian description.
Mhm.
So your dispatchers or whoever's working the radio can make sure, hey guys, just to let you know, we had the first shooter and now we've got a citizen who may or may not be armed and actively engaged in this situation. Talk about just everything happening all at
God.
once.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, our guys did a great job, and they've received a lot of praise from me and from all across the state. But one thing that they did really well is you talk about all those calls and all the different information. So many people calling in saying, you know, there's a shooter at the mall. Okay, did you see anything? You know, no. I heard gunshots and, you know, I ran out. Well, at that point, you know, we've got to move on to the next caller. So they did a really good job with prioritizing and making sure that, is this someone that has information that's going to help us to help people and help our responding units. You know, so they did a really good job sorting through those. So that's how we were able to make it through 65 calls.
Do you have
in that time
EPD?
frame.
You guys use that?
We do not.
Okay. I was gonna say, because that would not go that quick.
Right. And that's
Well, I would say to that, and we don't either have a protocol base for police, but we're trained. No, but we're trained as dispatchers to get full vehicle suspect information and go through the essential script in our minds. Right. So one of the things I was going to ask, and Heath, I think it's great you touched on it, is your training kind of kicks in, but it doesn't, that you got to adjust to say, okay, you're not involved. You only heard something. I may get your name and phone number just because you're a witness to it, and then say, stay safe, take cover, goodbye.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyone, Heath, that you know of want to say, can you stay on the line with me? And your dispatcher said to say, I can't.
Not that I heard. And I think everybody understood kind of what was going on. We made sure, you know, if we had people, obviously our mall is a pretty large mall, and we had people hiding in stores and corridors behind counters, businesses that were pulling, you know, customers in and locking them in their back rooms. So we had to, you know, I think once we said, are you safe? Are you somewhere safe? And they said, yes. I said, we will get somebody to you. You know, we reassured them that the shooter, that there was no current danger that we were aware of. So we reassured them of that. But taking names, phone numbers, and where their location was inside. And for several hours after, we were actually guiding the units that were clearing the mall to these different locations where we had people hiding.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Did you get calls after it had been code 4 and the guy's dead and the police are there? Did you still get calls of people going, we're hiding, we don't know where we're, you know, can we come out now or not, or what?
Yeah, for at least 2 hours after.
Oh my gosh.
goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of weird that it was the same week as our county fair, and our mobile command unit goes to the county fair and handles all the communications for all the security out there. I happened to be working in the mobile unit that night. So along with another one of our admin staff was in there with me, and we packed that thing up and we headed to the mall. We were on scene in less than an hour after it happened.
Oh, yeah, wow.
And probably an hour to 2 hours after we got there, they were still pulling people out.
Wow. Wow. Do you have maps of the mall? And even if you had them, was there time to pull them out and really use that as a tactical resource for you?
Yeah. So actually the dispatcher that was working that law talk group that night actually brought up a map. And what we did is, so all the search units that it was two different SWAT teams that were clearing the building, and we kept them on that primary talk group, and so they had continuity with the person that was started this whole thing. And so she had a map up and was kind of marking where people were, and being able to guide people where they were going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's, we talk about that when we talk about active shooter classes, of having a map of the mall or someplace. Because if somebody says,
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm at, but I'm at the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, you could find it if you know where
Right.
the mall is. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do that with all of our schools. We even have all the layouts of all the schools in our mobile unit as well. So that if we're on the scene there, then they can mark off rooms that have been cleared. And
so when you take your mobile command post out to the mall, does it become the primary dispatcher out there, or does it still stay at your center?
In this case, we kept we took over primary for the incident. The search crews that were clearing the building stayed on the primary talk group that they were on, and that stayed here at the center. But then we took over all of the communications, with the exception of fire.
Wow.
And that's when you say we took over, Heath, that's you and your admin assistant?
Yeah, it's our training coordinator. He was with me.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay. And
cool.
there's something to, I think, mention is July 17th was a Sunday.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things are happening, and things to consider for centers is what's going to happen after hours, weekends, or holidays where there is a skeleton crew. I mean, if an incident like this magnitude happens during the week and there are support staff on site, you can maybe pull a couple people in to just answer any kind of overring or staff like a non-emergent position so other people can staff and cover the 911 calls. Here, it wasn't like that. And thankfully you had the mobile command post out that Heath, you and your training coordinator, that's 2+ people right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then you guys know Travis. Yeah. So he came in here to the center, and our CAD administrator. So the entire admin staff, we have 4 admin staff, including myself, we were all involved. So the 2 of them came in, the us other 2 were up north.
Now
That's
the shift that left, because you said it was right around shift change, did anyone come back to say, okay, I'll help out?
Some called and
Okay.
said, if you need me, I'm available.
Yeah.
And we had other people who were on their days off call and say, I'm available if you need me.
Right.
Okay.
With the fact that we took over a lot of the communications in the mobile unit, and then Travis and Bill, our CAD administrator, both came here to the center. We were pretty good at that point, which like we're talking about staffing earlier. We're 10 people short every night. I mean, 7 is what we're supposed to have, but when you're 10 people short, you can't always have that. We haven't had that all summer. So the fact that we had 7 people that night, I mean, I don't know.
The fact that it was a Sunday where people think nothing's going to happen on a Sunday. It's like, bam, it's like right there. So, wow.
Yeah. Any big, we've got a couple minutes left. Any big lessons learned that people who are listening, or people who have hopefully are starting to think about, gosh, what would we do if this happened at my agency? Some big takeaways that people can start to think about?
You can train all you want, and nothing ever prepares you for that first phone call that you get that something like this is happening. One thing that's been nice for us is that we actually have been able to train with our units when they, with our field units on scene, when they're doing their rescue task force training, what they've been really working hard at. So they responded really well. So, just looking at a preparation standpoint is looking at making sure that you can, if you have that kind of relationship with your, police and fire departments, train with them.
Right.
It's important to know what they're doing so that you can kind of picture that in your mind, what that scene looks like. Because it's important that they know the incident command structure, because unified command was set up pretty quick in this sense. So they have to know, who am I talking to, who is talking to me, and kind of where do I need to send this information or that. So just understanding what that scene looks like, I think, is really important for a dispatcher.
It's funny because that's the same thing the person we had before you from Evaldi was talking about training with the officers, how valuable it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, same thing with y'all. And it's like, I don't understand agencies that don't do that, that exclude the dispatch. And it's like, makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, I said when Heath, you mentioned incident command. I'm surprised that fire and police, more so law enforcement, even know how to initiate that.
Well, that's one of the things that
Was there a joint command post?
once we got there, yes. Fire was the first on the well, fire is the first to establish command when they got there. And you know, we had an after action with the fire department. We haven't had the one with the multi-agency yet. That's be on the 15th of next month. But that's one of the things that we kind of had to take away was you know, I appreciate the fire so much. Not that I don't appreciate law enforcement, but the fact that the fire departments, you know, they live and die by incident command. They use it every day. These guys, you know, we had one person talking to us, and that was the battalion chief.
Exactly.
And, whereas we had on the law side, we had someone that established command, but then we couldn't get a hold of command, and then people weren't talking to command. People were still talking to us. We had someone say, "Hey, I need this door locked," and then a couple minutes later, someone come back and go, "I need this door unlocked." So there was and I'm waiting on some reports from the state to show how many push to talks we had on the fire side as opposed to the law side, to hopefully, you know, illustrate that to them. It's like, this is how much radio traffic there was on the fire side. This is how much there was on the police side, and hopefully they understand it. And what's nice, you know, to credit to our guys, because talking to the battalion chief at their after action, we were telling him how difficult that was for us to try to get the two commands together. We can say, okay, fire's established command here. We need you here. We need you know, law command to go over there. And that was tough for us, trying to get out, to find time to get on the radio to tell them that and get them over there. But the battalion chief said, I thought it would happen seamlessly. So, you know, thank you for that work. I didn't realize you guys were working that hard to make that happen for us. So, yeah.
Wow.
It is definitely a team effort, and so many lessons can be learned. And I think any and every time anybody who's listening, when you're watching the news or you're around visiting or something happens, you know, start to process, okay, how would we handle that at my agency? What would we do? Who would we call? Who's our mutual aid? Do we have that rollover policy that you're talking about? And then if it does roll over and they try to send it, you know, all of these questions that you've provided some really great insight to. And I hope that, you know, it just spurs that conversation that we speak dispatch, that the next time you're on shift or the next time that you know, have some downtime at your agency, that you're starting to work through these things, because unfortunately in today's world, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And we all have to get prepared for it. So thank you very much, Heath, for coming on. We appreciate your insight. It is invaluable to everyone who is listening, and thank you very much for sharing what you can. And I will see you at APCO in a couple weeks.
I'll see him too. I'll just be there.
That's right.
You, so.
Yeah. Doug's gonna be there, but he's not going to the game with us. So
some of us have to do things. Some of us have like our own, you know, things going here. So
anyway, so thank you very much. And everybody else, find us on Spotify and podcasts and YouTube and all sorts of social media.
Instagram, everything. So.
Everything. Tell your friends, friends, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great shift, everyone.
Thanks.
Hi, this is Courtney, and you've been listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch, proudly sponsored by our friends at Zybex.